What up chaps, I'm MagicalMike and recently I finally finished Enderal, the Skyrim overhaul mod that I've talked about before. And well, technically it was last year at this point, so not really recently, but frankly I didn't know what else to call this video. So I've gushed a bit about Enderal before, basically saying it's like more Skyrim but generally better in a lot of respects. But that was before I explored beyond the main areas and finished the story, so there's more to add. First of all, take a look at this map. How jam-packed with stuff to explore is this? Enderal isn't a huge landmass at all, but man, do they put a ton of stuff to look at inside of it. And I'll say, most, probably like 85% of this is completely optional stuff. At no point in the main story or in any quest did they direct you to most of these locations, but it's still so worth exploring them all. Yeah, sure, you'll find a fair bit of generic stuff after a while, but there are so many unique places to check out that it just never feels that way unless you do what I did and really push hard to see it all within a few days, which took well over 100 hours if I remember rightly, and each one of these places will take you a while to fully discover and loot because there is a ludicrous amount of attention to detail everywhere, and I mean it. You'll constantly find skill books, spare parts, arrows, weapons, ingots, ore, magic symbols, the ice cap mushrooms, Butcher of Arc volumes, and so much other stuff in the most unusual places, constantly. Like in those generic hollowed out barrels, you'll often find stuff, like under random broken floorboards, inside broken crates, under furniture, behind bushes, inside innocuous nooks and crannies. Basically all of the places you'd normally ignore in Skyrim because you can't interact with them, you'll find reason to check all that stuff out in Enderal. Now, having explored literally everything, and very meticulously too I might add, my chat on stream would definitely say so as well, because I am a slow boy, I will say that loot becomes pretty pointless, obsolete, after getting my hands on the best armour set and special weapons. I played as a battle mage, so heavy armour, two-handed weapons and lightning magic with some entropy conjuration stuff and some defensive stuff mixed in. So nothing I could ever make, enchant, smith, build, brew, potions, find or buy was ever better than the sets that I found around the Frostcliff Mountains. And granted, that's a fairly late game area to go and explore in, and almost entirely optional as well, but it was always a bit knowing that I'd peaked at around level 25 to 30. Speaking of which, I ended up at the end of the game at around level 83-ish, which was absolutely ridiculous considering that most people online were saying that they finished the game in the mid-30s. And maybe it's designed to be finished there too, because my build felt perfect at around that sort of level range, where I felt that I had enough stuff done to have a niche role, but still wanted this and that for later, so I was still excited to build the character. In the end, I had so many extra memory points and skill points that I had no idea what to do with them all. I maxed all of my elementarism and entropy stuff, along with my two-handed tree and my heavy armour, so I ended up just throwing stuff around in the thaumaturge tree and basically whatever else I felt like doing. And it was all pretty silly in the end. I felt so massively overpowered, yet could still be totally wrecked in a few hits if I just stopped paying attention, so it was a strange balance there. So maybe the devs thought that most people wouldn't go quite as hard as I did, which is probably a smart move. As I got further afield from Ark, I also found a distinct lack of side quests as well, which was a shame, since I think some of these found in and around Ark and Riverville were incredible, and often better than the main quest. Simply exploring the Powder Desert and places way far out was some of the most rewarding stuff for me, though the one apothecary quest, which was called Like Newly Born, was absolutely amazing. I think it was in Golden Forest, ? Offering its own story, dungeon, vistas, which were found everywhere I might add, but here it was particularly memorable, and lots of speculation afterwards. A lot of fun stuff. It also seems that more quests have been added afterwards, after I finished my run, so between then and now, so there's even more to see. Oh, and I completely almost forgot to mention Apotheosis with the whole massive Dwemer skyship thing. Well, it's not Dwemer, I can't remember the name of the race that had it, but it's all Dwemer architecture and stuff. This huge crashed skyship in this cliffside in the Frostcliff Mountains. Great quest, really recommend doing that. And so I do have to mention the main quest. While overall great and enjoyable, there were a few nitpicks that I had. The player character, for example, is an idiot. so many important characters in the story talk at length about things, and then the main character always has a predictable response that you have to use to advance. So here's what you just said, super simplified and structured in a question response is how I have come to label it. And then the other guy repeats all that he just said, but a little bit dumbed down, just for no real reason, I guess, just in case you weren't paying attention, in case you're a player that didn't care about the story, playing a story-based game, then why would you be there doing that? I don't know. And it happens every single time that you get into one of these conversations, and there are a lot of times. Which is funny, because the conversations themselves were good. They were good without being repeated, so I really don't know why they did that. The two main companions that you find are also a bit, well, unlikable for me, which is subjective, I know. Their specific flaws felt a bit forced and awkward, like Jesper's drinking and hatred of commitment and free mindset was easy to say the wrong thing to, just constantly. And Kalia was so easy to piss off. I even tried really hard with her too, because I liked her, for the most part. Well, her twist, we'll say, I really was interested in, but I had to reload quite a few times to not accidentally apologise or something really silly like that. She gets really uptight about the strangest things. But the story though, yeah, I mean it was bloody good, and I don't want to spoil any of it, so I won't really talk any more about it. I will admit that it was a little bit patronising and pretentious occasionally, but there's so many good moments that I can just ignore that. Like exploring the aged man's house. It won't mean anything to you the first time, it's just a bunch of weird, interesting things without any kind of meaning. But go back when you finish a playthrough and check out what new meanings you find there, because it is suddenly so crazy interesting. Honestly, really, it's worth keeping a separate save there, just so that you can do that when you finish the game. I recommend it. Anyway, Enderal. So go check it out if you haven't already. I mean, it's relatively old at this point. I think it's on Steam as well now. It's some of the best modern RPG stuff that I've played. I think I would say that with some level of confidence. Yeah. Anyway, cheers for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.